You know, it's so much warmer today, but it's so dreary today, isn't it? It's almost want some of that cold back. So you were intrepid enough to come out. What I wanted to do was just let tonight be questions and answers or conversation. All of you were brave enough to come out in this foggy, dreary weather. So there's a reason. Anybody have a question they're thinking of right away?
Something I've been working on in my practice is letting go of resentment. And while sometimes I feel like I break through resentment on a surface level, there's still like a deeper unconscious resentment that's still there. So do you have any advice for that kind of practice?
Yeah, I'm familiar with that kind of practice. I think my advice would be just to keep doing it. Were you here when Bhante Samahita visited? The monk from Denmark who lives in Sri Lanka? It was that may have been on a Saturday when he talked. He talked about meditating with the 4 Brahma Viharas, which are the 4 sublime states. And it's especially good meditation for anger and resentment and other emotions that become negative for us, that are too extreme. And he talked about meditating with, those are the qualities of loving kindness and compassion and appreciative joy, joy for others as well as yourself, and equanimity. That's the balance that we want to always try to come back to. And he talked about those specifically. I really was happy to get to hear him because I'd been wondering how to meditate with those, because I knew that was a good practice for resentment and anger and just negative areas. And so he used the model that we have for loving kindness practice. And he focused on how to do that. And then we also then would generate those same feelings with the quality of compassion. We would generate in the same process, not the same feelings. So we first generate you know how we do loving kindness. So with compassion, we would generate compassion, being with ourselves first, and open our hearts and really take in that quality. And then we would begin sending it out the same way we radiate out loving kindness. We would radiate out compassion and go further and further. And then he really emphasized that we radiate out, the Buddha called it unbounded, but for each of those qualities, we allow it to radiate out to infinity. We don't see any end to it. It just continues to go and go and go. And then we do that with joy, and that's the appreciative joy, means having the joy for someone else, whether, if someone else gets the job you want, can you feel joy for them as well? And, joy for, he focused on that it's not just feeling joy for others, but we have to develop that quality in ourselves. And then we radiate out that joy for others with that same unbounded quality. And then with equanimity, we go in and feel it for ourselves and feel, that it's a quality we want, that a quality of balance is something that it's possible for us to achieve. And then we send it out. And that's what he suggests is and what I've read and reading the Visuddhimagga and other teachers, that's a really wonderful practice for dealing with those kind of feelings. And you'll get, if you keep with it, if you keep doing it and make it your regular practice, then you can gradually, you're just rooting out, you're pulling out those good feelings, those good qualities, are just pushing the bad ones out. And you just become so aware. Any of those four qualities can help eradicate those negative qualities. We just have to do it with a real commitment and do it. I think for me it needs to be my regular practice. So other people have other ideas how you've worked with resentment? Mm-hmm.
Something that I think helps me is when I feel that resentment, it's often directed at a specific other person's actions.
Mm-hmm.
And so something that I'll do is I'll transfer my attention on those actions that I might not be approving of and shift them onto something that kind of makes me happy. So it'll be something that's like I'll realize that someone did something for me that day.
Uh-huh.
Something that's uplifting rather than something that's just going to pull me down.
The thing with that though is like if you just push your focus to the side, like the resentment's still hanging out over there, and like it's not that eradicated, it's just chilling.
Uh-huh.
Waiting for the next time you look at it and they're like, man, I'm angry.
And that can be helpful, though, what you're talking about, as you develop more and more, like kind of getting to that resentment. I think that's why those four qualities, too, help, because when you're thinking about joy, it can help you let go of resentment, those other, and Todd, you said something earlier today when we were doing the class about if we have feelings of resentment towards someone or feelings of love towards someone, sometimes we have to we aren't sure why. Like you don't know why there's some person that you just really don't like, or anything they can do you feel resentful about, and sometimes that our meditation, we can just allow that to kind of keep going until we figure out what it is. Not analyzing it, but sitting with it, being with it. And then something can come that might give you an answer or a key. And your technique is very good, but I know that when there's that deep resentment where you feel like no matter what you do, it's there waiting to just pop up, and we need to know it well enough, and so sometimes we just need to sit with it, and we can be thinking like, how does this make me feel? Like, how does my body feel when I'm feeling that resentment and letting it just exist in me?
Like,
where do you feel it? What does it do to your, where does it stick in you? It could even be that there's something you may need to, if it's towards the same person, you may discover that you need to talk to them, or you need to have a different conversation, or not talk to them. I mean, sometimes it's old stuff. And it's might be, what you might discover is it's not connected to that person at all, but it's something else. But that takes, then you need to just sit and be with it. Anybody else? That's a good topic, because boy, that's one that can pop up.
It's worth noting also that is part of the podcast series that Tom with that month in Denmark, so you can find it and listen to it. It was really good.
Yeah.
It was a really good talk.
Yeah. I want to go back. I listened to another one of his talks today, the one on quantum mechanics, and I went on YouTube. I subscribe to his YouTube channel. I have for a long time, but just listen. It was a talk he did at the Theosophical Society, and I thought I want to go back and listen to the meditation, the way he taught us to do the 4 sublime states. But that talk he gave on the title was something like Buddhism and early Buddhism and relativity, quantum physics, and the title kind of blows you away. But that talk is wonderful. I don't know if all of you have listened to it or not. I mean, you have to really be present. You can't be doing two things. For me, I had to really decide, I'm going to spend an hour and a half because I really want to hear that talk. And it was so exciting to me. It's very challenging to hang on to the ideas, but he did it in a way that I could understand for the moment. I couldn't answer a question about it now. But it really opened up a lot of the Buddhist teachings and a lot of the things that sometimes seem impossible. His talk about those things and how the Buddha knew those things in his teachings and he used them in his life. That was a very exciting talk. I just got really... so there's something about Bhante Samahita as a teacher that really goes deep for me.
On a lighter note, I want to have a discussion of Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
When it first came out in '92, I thought, well, this is kind of an interesting movie. It's got a charming Bill Murray who's in it. And then when Ramos died and they discussed how Buddhism was related to the story, then another light bulb went on. And then when I joined the temple and learned more about Buddhism, then I learned more about it. And so it's just taken me about 30 years, but
Yeah, I know that feeling.
about Groundhog Day and how he was reliving all his lives because he was not a very nice person, and he got better as time went on. But I like the discussion, and it's interesting how we can take a concept and put it into a story and kind of make it relevant to our daily lives. So that was interesting.
Yeah, I love that. I love that story. And I think just thinking about it, I get new things out of it. Was it Harold Ramos who was Buddhist, wasn't he?
I think he was.
That's the name I couldn't think of. Yeah.
I kind of think Bill Murray did, he does a lot of films that have an underlining tone of Buddhism, I think. So.
That kind of make a good direct hit, right?
Like Ghostbusters.
Yeah, that's that is a great movie.
Hi, my name is Nick.
Hi, Nick.
So I'm pretty new to meditation in general, so I'm kind of wondering about, are there many different styles of meditation? Like today, we do loving kindness and less than silent meditation. Do you ever have meditations where you choose a specific topic that's been on your mind that you focus on, or is that a form of distraction in your meditation?
Well, that's a good distinction you brought up. I think it's how you use it as an object that makes it either, what did you call it? The word you just said, a distraction, or can you meditate with it? But I think you get the main point. You don't want it to be a distraction, right? You can, sometimes we may say, or we're working with resentment or working with something. But when we're sitting, I think usually we can use something like the 4 sublime states, because we can just get that quality of those more positive, skillful states, and just think of just getting them for yourself and then just radiating them out. But you don't want to sit and start thinking about. We want to go beneath that thinking part of our mind. So if there's a way you can do that with a particular topic or a particular issue without just ruminating on it.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. In your experience, would you say you ever come to focusing on it just after.
Yeah. Yeah, if you listen to Bhante Samahita's talk about relativity and about waves, particle waves, and I can remember his PowerPoint, but he talks about when we meditate, we can, sometimes what happens is, we just keep coming back to our breath, we keep working with our mind, and just something that we need will just like drop in, and we can feel, okay, that's what I needed to get. That's what I needed to, not because we're thinking about it, but because we're letting it just be there. We're not getting our thoughts just get us back into more problems. Does that make sense? So if you listen to his talk on YouTube or a podcast, you need to see it on YouTube because he's got visuals for it. But I think it would even help with what you're talking about.
Yeah. Is that Blue Lotus?
It's under, his name is Samahita.
Okay.
Samahita. And it's his YouTube, and it's on quantum physics. But he did it. It was a talk he did at the Theosophical Society. It'd be in their archives too. Did you want to say something, Bhante Asaji, about thinking? Are you thinking when you meditate? Or are you trying to let your thoughts go? You could do a talk on that for us sometime, okay? But I'm catching you like it's not fair to do that. That's
I'm wondering about the website button. Buddhism, when they say to do a mantra, or they're doing a one mantra, I feel like in yoga sometimes because they do it more connected that way. If they say like the one mantra, and then I feel distracted if you're saying the mantra because you're focusing on the breath and the mantra, I feel like it's a distraction. I feel like the breath is a mantra.
I don't know that much about using mantras, but when we say well, happy, peaceful, that could be a mantra. We don't use a lot of mantras in our practices. It's not that there's anything wrong with that, but we're usually just working with our breath. Were you saying what were you saying about your practice? Does the mantra, is it confusing? Well, I think you have, it's different teachers. All teachers have different methods. So if we're all pretty similar at Blue Lotus, but you might go to another Theravadan teacher and their style would be different. So, you can do just working with your breath, and for most of us that's a challenge enough, right, for a long time. Because working with your breath is like always being able to keep coming back. But you can do body scans. They're all different types of meditations, and then different schools have different styles. Leave your eyes open or close them, or use mudras or not. It can get really complex. So I think the best thing to do is find something that works for you, and experience a lot of things, but find what works with you. But for us, it would be find what works for you to help you just keep coming back to your breath, no matter how many thousands of times your mind wanders. The important thing is, can you catch it and bring it back? And even I know that I had really crazy monkey mind when I started, But it wasn't until I started, for about 7 years I was meditating with that because I wasn't quite sure about the instructions. And it was the Bhante Sujata being a teacher that made it, that the kind of breathing, the way we worked with our breath started to work. But some people might work with those sounds and the mantras very well, but it's kind of personal stuff. Uh-huh.
I just want to say I think working with an intention in your meditation can be good because in my personal practice it's easy for just focusing on my breath for me to get distracted, but if I have a word to come back to, it's like a home base for my brain. And like usually it's a positive affirmation like gratitude or love or something, but it's like a home base for my brain to work off of.
Right. And that's why the Four Sublime States is good too, because you've got loving kindness, compassion. You've just got those words. So that intention is enough. It can be just the intention without saying, okay, I'm going to think about it. I'm going to analyze it. Because then that's different from meditation. Yeah. So you knew because you already knew it could be a distraction. So that's good. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Kind of like part of what meditation does in regards to how it changes. I think it changes the way you work with, let's say, a long rumination or thought train. Something happens and you have to figure out an answer. It can be anything. For example, let's say some sort of discord in an interpersonal relationship. You can sit down and you can wind up thinking about it. You wind up taking yourself back to that moment. You're inside of it again. You're reliving it. You can say you're analyzing it, but really you're just heavily involved and you're becoming passionate. You're feeling emotions once more. It becomes this whole endeavor. There's a psychologist named Irving Yalom who talks about how making change in that kind of mindset about a situation that's in the past, it becomes very hard because it's not really in the past when you're reliving it in your mind. I think what meditation does is it allows you to, put his language, strike when the iron is cold. You finally actually stop, being inside of that moment and repeating it over and over again. And when you return to something after having put it down, you can sometimes gain like a new clarity. And it's that moment sometimes where you feel like something just drops into your head. Finally got still enough for a moment for a new idea to surface naturally. It happens to me all the time doing homework. It happens in a lot of like little situations. You just step away from something. Sometimes using, like a different thought train, that maybe it's a bit more pleasant to pull you away from something that's very negative and hard to deal with. But actually doing that, setting down something that you're so tied to, it's a real challenge sometimes. That's part of why, at least in what I've read, a major part of the practice is trying to dissolve your ego. And the more you can, kind of chip away from that ego, the easier you are to become dispassionate towards things that happen where the conventional you is involved in that.
Yeah, that's very. Who was the psychotherapist or psychiatrist you mentioned?
Irvin Yalom.
Irvin Yalom.
Yalom. He's considered like the father of existential group therapy. He always is dealing with those sorts of things.
It's very. I really like the way you describe that and strike while the iron is cold. That's really good. That was my own experience finding when I first started meditating. I just my mind just wanted to, I'm sitting here for 45 minutes. I'm just going to go over this situation that I'm so miserable about, and I'm going to relive every part of it. And I kept thinking, this meditation, I don't know if it's working. I'm just getting more. But I had a teacher, but not a teacher who said, help me look at that. I just thought, if I think about it a lot, I'm going to think up the right answer, which you can't do. Yeah. So it's good to have basic instruction that tells you your mind is crazy, your thinking is crazy. Don't think.
If I want to kick a bad habit, or perhaps even some kind of mental addiction, what kind of practice with meditation do you think I should use?
Wow. Do you have a suggestion if you have a bad habit and you want to change it? What's a good practice, meditation practice to help it? You've never had any bad habits, have you?
Visualize yourself when you're doing deep well activities, so when you get here the opposite way, you visualize yourself doing it well, happy and peaceful, the opposite. When we say that about ourselves, just keep being happy and doing the opposite, and visualize yourself every time you say that.
That's good. That's what I was thinking. I think loving kindness is a great way. And the way you're talking about it, you're envisioning yourself. And usually our bad habits are not things that we think are showing love towards ourselves. You know, our bad habits are the reason we want to change them is because they're damaging us. You know, they're say smoking is a great example. Besides using patches and things like that, probably practicing loving kindness and envisioning yourself living a life without that habit, that monkey on your back. A lot of monkeys, monkey mind, monkey. That's good, Sherry, thanks. I think that's a good one. Anybody else have an idea? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I stumbled across a phrase that kind of helped me, and it still helps me when I phrase it this way. At one point, I just said to myself, I'm being bullied by my base desires, which, allowed me to finally kind of like external, like sort of, think about like those desires as not aspects of myself, it's simply something that's happening. Mine was like, I gotta eat chicken nuggets right now. It's expensive for you. At some point, I had to, say to myself that desire is there and it's pushing me around and it's trying to get me to do something that is ultimately not good for me.
Mm-hmm.
And when I began to externalize, I guess that no longer became a part of me, but something that was just happening that I didn't have to follow. It was easier to break, so that
the bond.
Chicken nugget,
Yeah. Well, and the Buddha talks about guarding our sense stores. Yeah. That's a very important part of Buddha's practice. So it's nothing wrong with our senses, but when they're in charge and they're taking us where we don't want to go, that's when we need to think, if I'm guarding myself a little bit, like every time you smell good food, if you had to run by chicken nuggets, right? You have to, those guards are to protect us. And it's good to remember that. It's not like we're putting a restraint on ourselves that's going to be bad or painful or negative. We're really trying to do what's best for us. And we have to pay attention. Like, what are the things? Is it a smell of some food, or is it, if you have one cigarette, you can't stop because you've had all those senses sort of put into play. And look at that and think, where can you begin to guard those doors to protect you, to be good to you? Yeah. And it's all, is it going to be kind to you? I always like to think too, like renunciation, when we talk about renunciation, that's a good thing. It's always important to remember that we're not giving up things. We don't say renunciation is good because you're just giving up everything you love, and that's going to just show you how tough you are, or how without any needs you can be. It's really, renunciation is just letting go of the things that don't make us be filled with loving kindness for ourselves. Like, renunciation is letting go of the things that are harming us, because we're learning to love ourselves. And that's the whole process. And so we can begin to let things go naturally because we're trying to do things that are better and, just more lovable towards ourselves, and think of it that way. Mm-hmm.
I got a good tip from a sermon at the Unitarian Church out by us. They were talking about breaking bad habits, actually, and they were saying how you really want to pick up a new habit, something that's good for you. So otherwise, like with smoking, like that 10 minutes where you decide I'm not going to go out for a cigarette, like then you're just sitting there thinking about how much you want a cigarette.
Yeah.
And like you have to pick up something else to do, like read a book or like meditate or go exercise or do something to take your mind off of it.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, create a new habit to replace that time.
That's very good, yeah. Because that say if it's smoking or going to the refrigerator to get something just because you don't have anything else to do, you're looking for something to do. So a habit is the easiest thing to turn to. Yeah.
I know when I quit smoking, it was a lot of different things that helped me quit smoking. I was in a group, and I think there was 30 people in the group that helped. And then there was peer pressure. I was the last one in my family to stop smoking, so there was a lot of peer pressure there as well. And then it was looking internally and saying, well, this is bad for my body. It's not permanent. The feeling won't permanent forever. It's just something I need to go through and come out on the other side. So it was always a combination of a lot of things. And out of 30 people, I was the only one who quit smoking.
Really?
This is part I know. It was taught at the hospital by a nurse, and we were in a circle, and we put out the cigarette butts in the can and smell the can. But it's a combination of a lot of things. I think that but one thing is looking inside of yourself and saying, well, this is not going to be permanent for your body. It's an addictive thing, and as soon as your receptors get over it, that it's not psychological, it's physical. It's a number of different things.
So you're thinking of that, the impermanence, the quality of impermanence, right? This is going to make me feel terrible for, 6 months or something. But then I'm going to be through it, and then it's going to feel so good. Yeah. And the group is really important too, right? Have noble friends, have good friends to help you get through some things. That's good.
Yeah, peer pressure too. Every time I met one of my family, they stopped smoking. So there was a lot of influence.
Yeah. That's a good thing about family sometimes, right? If it's a good habit. Okay, I think our time is up. But thank you. You did a wonderful talk, everybody. That's wonderful. Thanks.